What's up, guys? I'm Eric.
And I'm Brandon.
Welcome to Van Mater Corner Talks, or whatever we call this at some point down the road, because it's not just going to be us talking in a corner. But we wanted to come to you. We wanted to create this channel or this outlet. It's kind of a resource. We'll let Brandon talk to you a little bit about what he envisions or would like to do, at least at the start of this. So,
yeah, I think, like I said, we came up with the idea of doing this. I, as a coach, not only with high school and youth athletes, but even adults, a lot of people have a lot of questions that to us come off as common sense, stuff that we feel like everyone should know, but a lot of people don't know. So what we want to do on this is to make a resource for you guys so that you can learn how to do any aspect of training or fitness so that it does become common sense and we don't have to throw all these fancy terms at you. Make it sound as simple as possible so that you can understand it as easily as possible.
yeah, I agree. I mean, for me, it's a lot of the same. I'm head coach over at the Arsenal Fitness. He's a coach with us over there as well, both with CrossFit, a little personal training, and sport performance as well. And our motto or our mantra over there is that every individual is an athlete, or every person is an athlete and an athlete of life. And so there's a lot of things that we do have to answer repeatedly that like you said, I don't say it's just common sense, but like we think it's common knowledge because we've dealt with it for so long. So for us to be able to have a resource out there and put some resources out there to try and help reverse some of that or help fix some of that. I mean, right now we're in a state where the world's turning. I mean, our country alone is more than 50% overweight or obese right now, and we really want to flip that. So it all starts with having at least the knowledge. If you have the knowledge, it's kind of up to you to make a decision to move forward. Then it comes down to mindset from there, which whole nother discussion that I'm not going to roll into today, at least. But I mean, I guess really you should probably really wonder, why should you even listen to us? What do we have to offer? I question that sometimes, but I also get a lot of people tell me I should have done this 10 years ago. So, this is something that we want to get rolling and make sure we're putting some content out for you guys and what you want to learn from, what you want to hear from us, but also understand where we come from and what we've been through, so we can help give you some better feedback. So I'll let Brandon start off with kind of his story.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm 34 years old now, so I mean, really for the last definitely 20 years, fitness has been a pretty big part of my life. I really started working out pretty seriously in high school, trained what I thought was for getting better at baseball. And even before that, like played sports all growing up. I will go ahead and say up front and admit that I was a fat kid. And by fat, I mean fat.
He's not playing. He's not playing.
Going into my freshman year, I got access to the weight room, enjoyed it, had fun with it. Unfortunately got injured back when I used to think skateboarding was cool. But then when I came back from that, got back into it and started seeing progress, started getting stronger, started losing some weight. I liked the way I felt, and it just became a thing that I enjoyed doing. Just knew I was staying after school to work out. So when I found out that there was a career that I could have that meant I got to hang out in the weight room, teach people how to lift weights, which was not nearly as in-depth as what I thought it was. But still, I said, sign me up. So from the get-go, as soon as I went to college, I knew that's exactly what I wanted to do. So I studied exercise science at Huntington University, where I was able to also play 4 years of college baseball. Once I finished there, I then went on to grad school at Ball State to get my master's in sport performance. When I was there, primarily worked with the men's volleyball team and the women's tennis team. The summer in between my 2 years, I interned with the football team. And honestly, throughout those 2 years, I just spent time in the weight room. I got to be around the coaches, be around a lot of the athletes, got to work with a bunch of different athletes, and just learn about movement, about coaching, about training. And so a lot of things learned from those 2 years of grad school, most of which I would say came from just being hands-on in the weight room. Once I graduated from there, I actually went back to Huntington, worked as a coach for 1 year with the baseball team, did all of their strength conditioning. I also worked with the men's soccer team, and then moved over to Dayton, Ohio, where he had already been for about a year or so, year and a half maybe. and we worked together at a private facility over there.
When did you come over there? What?
May of 2015.
Okay, yeah, because I would have started fall of 2013. It was like late October-ish, I believe.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Of 13, yeah.
So
yeah,
and then we were both there for another year and a half or so once I got there, and then moved back to here in Muncie. I was working just a normal job, help pay the bills, training a few people here and there, trying to build up some clientele, get something going. Had people that I worked with off and on, saw progress, saw results, but then just timing wise, some did work out, some didn't work out. That's the way life goes. But lucky for me, it would have been about 2019, late 2018, early 2019. One of our close family friends got a hold of me about creating a strength conditioning program at the high school that I'm currently at right now, which I'm in my 5th year there now. It's at Westdale Middle High School. So I'm the head strength conditioning coach there, in charge of all the athletes. I teach strength conditioning classes all day long, and then after school have weights. And then, as you said earlier, I'm also a coach at the Arsenal here in Muncie. So I get to see a vast difference of individuals. I have some 6th, 7th, and 8th grade kids who have never touched weights before. I've got some high school kids who have done a little bit here and there. We've got some other high school kids who are really good, who have been with me since they were in 7th grade. And then going over at the Arsenal, a big variety of athletes there, stemming from some youth and high school athletes with our sport performance, and then our CrossFit athletes that can range anywhere from college age kids up to elderly adults. So big variety in the amount of people I've trained, but I like that. I like training different age groups, different types of training, different people, mostly because I like to show them how much training can be similar. I can work with a 15-year-old male athlete and put him on something that people would say is a sports performance or a sports specific workout, but I'm going to have the 55-year-old woman who's only been working out for a year doing similar things, scaled to what she's capable of course, but it's very little difference in the actual program of what they're doing. Now it's also obviously based off of their goals. If they have 2 completely separate goals, then they're going to be different programs. But as a whole, training is the same when you're 10 as when you're 60. So aside from that, I will finish with, before I hand it off to Eric, one of the things from grad school that really stuck with me that I've continued on since then, Coach Roberson, one of mine, and I would say our bigger mentors that we worked with.
Shout out to Rob.
He told us on day one, find something to train for, to be competitive in, whether you actually compete or not. Because anyone that you work with, whether it's athletes at a high school, college, professional level, or just athletes of life, they want to know that you understand the struggle that they go through when it comes to training. And so I got into Olympic lifting a little bit, let's say dabbled, realized I wasn't great at it. But then right before I moved to Ohio, and really when I got to Ohio and started training there, got into strongman training, and I've never looked back since. I tend to compete at least once or twice a year, just to keep my competitive mindset going. So strongman's a big part of my personal training, and also along with a lot of training that I do with other people as well. So
that's any of your knee issues, or is that what stemmed you wanting to get into strongman, or were you just kind of starting to utilize it quite a bit before your?
Honestly, when Pinot first came out on Barbell Shrugged, and he was big on strongman movements, I had already had the torn meniscus, had surgery, was sitting or laying on your couch, and there happened to be a rerun from like the 2012 World's Strongest Man or something, and they were deadlifting and doing farmer's carries, and I was like, shit, I like that stuff. So it really just kind of stemmed from there. I was like, well, let's try it out, and never looked back since. So
I mean, that was a part too, just in the weightlifting, and he says he wasn't meant for it. Like he can't straighten his elbow all the way. So like for him to compete, before he would go out on the platform, he had to show the judge and say, hey, this is all I got. This is all I can straighten, because you are supposed to catch the bar straight elbows. So that was, I imagine, part of what steered you away from it too. But yeah, I knew it was kind of around the same time, so I wasn't sure how much that like kind of sparked it, because I know doing some of that stuff helped rehab your knee quite a bit. So, so I guess for me, it's a similar background to a degree, except I was the exact opposite. I was not a fat kid. It actually looked like he stole 2 of my 3 meals a day and ate my plates, and I didn't get to eat. I was the skinny, overactive kid that just never settled down, was always outside doing stuff, playing sports. And so I was also extremely picky. Super picky, didn't eat like any meat, hardly any protein, chicken, steak. I think the only meat that I really consumed was pepperoni and pepperoni pizzas.
Hamburger with just ketchup.
Hamburger, just ketchup from McDonald's. A couple other places here and there, but so strange. Now I don't eat any of those places. I still love my pepperoni pizza with some steak on it, but just what I said all the way around. Anyways, I was a 3-sport athlete in high school: cross country runner, basketball, baseball. I actually thought up through probably early my junior year, I thought if I was going to go to college for athletics, it was going to be to run. My sophomore year, I actually almost quit baseball. To run track, because my Spanish class was going to go to Mexico for spring break, and if you missed baseball practices during spring break, then you didn't play. That was just one of Dudley's rules. We had 2 days most days. It was a long week of training and practice, and so luckily for me, that trip got canceled, because at the end of my junior year, I kind of blossomed out in baseball, and I had a really, really, really strong senior year. I went undefeated on the mound up until state finals. Lost the state finals, but I was 15-0 as a senior in baseball. I was a left-handed pitcher, and I really didn't know where I was going to go play until I committed to Purdue August 1st. It was right after the Indiana North-South All-Star game. I was a preferred walk-on to start, and earned a little scholarship early with a little bit of increase supposed to happen over the course of my 5 years, because I was pretty sure I was going to redshirt right away. But then the next year they changed the rule to where you could only receive 25% or more, and I initially was supposed to start at a lower percent. Anyways, didn't end up getting as much until my last year. I got a little bit, but stayed on, played, and actually earned a spot there. My freshman year, I redshirted, so I was just part of the team. I was a guy that I went into college at about 1.5, 6'2", weighed 140 pounds soaking wet. And that was the big things. You got to get bigger, you got to get stronger. Like I said, I was a really picky eater, and so I had a roommate, Eric Nielsen. Shout out to the one that always made fun of me for being skinny and picky. But yeah, got me to start eating a little bit better and understanding. A lot of for me, I learned how to overcome my picky habits by understanding the need for nutrients. And now I love my steak. I love a lot of my meats. I prefer meat. Because I know the benefits it has as a whole in a lot of ways, but I also understand the importance of eating my fruits, my veggies, my micronutrients, and getting those in, my daily fiber intake, because I have spent a lot of time, being a picky eater, and then learning that's how I branched out. I was like, oh, I need this in my diet to some degree. I've got to figure out how to like it, and so that's helped me a lot in that realm. But anyways, that helped me a ton through college. As I went in, I was like I said, preferred walk-on, so I was in the weight room 4 days a week, and so kind of fell in love with it. I did right away, knew I wanted to do something athletically, but I totally believed I was going to play at least in the minor leagues, and I was going to figure it out from there. Ended up, after playing baseball 3 years at Purdue, I transferred and finished out my last 2 years at Ball State. Did not get drafted after those 2 years. Had a decent career, but nothing astonishing. Kept trying to get picked up. I was that lefty that threw upper 80s, had good stuff, but just never could quite get over that threshold. I actually got a call to play at the Tin Caps, but it was 2 days as a free agent shortly after, the summer after I was done playing. But I had actually 2 days before partially tore my Tommy John throwing a football with some buddies. And so I was, done. At that point, I was 23 or 20, I was 24 at that point, actually. And, year of rehab and surgery, I've been 25, 26 by the time I'm back. And it's time to join the real world at that point. So that pushed me back into grad school, but because I kind of tried chasing that dream a little bit. In that window, I also was the volunteer assistant for Ball State baseball for a year, so I actually got a year of Division I coaching as well. But in that time, I had some time off between undergrad. I actually went back to grad school at the same time as Brandon, so we got our master's degree at the same time. I guess we actually really didn't mention either. Undergrad, we both actually interned at a really great facility down in Tampa, Florida called Cooper Sport Performance now. It was Cooper Speed School when I was down there. Josh Cooper's the owner and director there. For me, he didn't get much time with him, but Cody Shovitz, he was the head coach at the facility at the time, a brilliant guy, taught me a ton in terms of speed training and just, development for athletes of any caliber and how to make the most out of, limited equipment and how to, the body is your adaptation machine. It's up to you to come up with those tools to how to manipulate that. So, but anyways, grad school, I was head strength coach for men's golf and women's gymnastics. Golf, I was excited about. Women's gymnastics, I was actually really mad I didn't do baseball, but it ended up being one of the best things for me. It's a sport I knew nothing about, so I had to learn a ton about it, and I learned a lot about the body coordination, power, strength, stamina, like depending on the event the girls would try to specialize in or where they were all-rounded, how much capacity they needed, how much power we need to be ready for in events. So it was really cool to learn a new aspect. Men's golf, they were a great team to work with. I was actually lucky enough to get a national finalist ring with them, so that was a great experience for me. I was actually offered early in my grad school career, in the start of my second year, a private job in Ohio. Someone who had been a coach prior to was leaving the facility and reached out to Roberson, and my name got tossed out to take it over. So I went over and basically took over this facility. I was the only one employed there. We were attached to the backside of a chiropractor, but it was a private sport performance facility. The next level, speed and strength in Dayton, Ohio. And so I was there solo for about 7 or 8 months. We brought on an assistant, and I think it was about a year after the assistant that we brought over Brandon as an assistant coach. So the assistant was more like an office manager, desk manager, to help check people in, make sure payments were in, make sure everyone's sessions were logged. We did sell smoothies as well. I forget what those were called, city blends, I think, weren't they? Yeah,
I think so.
Sold city blends, so she'd help make those and things like that. But
custom ones were better, where you just toss in Pop-Tarts and Oreos.
Yeah, we got into our own mixtures of those. But I was there for about 3.5 years. Around the time that I decided to step away, I was getting competitive in Olympic weightlifting. So in grad school, Coach Roberson had said, choose something that you want to do and then run with it. And I was actually really leaning more towards wanting to go the bodybuilding route. I was kind of tired of being smaller. I was always told I shouldn't be a heavy presser as a pitcher, and I just wanted to get a jacked upper body. And Robe kind of pressured me into being an Olympic weightlifter, and I never looked really back from there. I fell in love with it. I realized as I dove down that path more, there's nothing more athletic you can do with weights and with barbell. And so in the strength realm, Olympic weightlifting is one of, if not the most athletic thing you can do. And so I just felt I always wanted to stay athletic, and I wanted to be an athlete. Doesn't mean I couldn't still try to be jacked to some degree, but if I was going to choose an avenue, it was going to be that. And so, but around the time of leaving Ohio, I actually moved down to North Carolina for about 18 or 19 months to train hands-on with Travis Mash from Mash Elite Performance. Actually, he's with Rise Sports now, but he's done a ton of things. If you not know who Travis Mash is, you probably live under a rock in the fitness industry.
Look him up if you don't.
Yeah, look him up if you don't. Great dude. Shout out to Trav. He taught me a lot. He's a great mentor, for me, and still love seeing a lot of things he does, especially as he has some young kids now and seeing the stuff he's starting to put out on top of some of the good research we have, but more popularizing youth strength training and youth speed training and power training, how it's actually very safe for kids to do. So, but I got a great hands-on experience with him. Not only just with him, I was in a room full of 18 to 24-year-olds that were the best in the country that you can't mimic that. I walked in the room day one and I saw Nathan Dameron back squat 300 kilos for PR day one, and he's in my weight class. And my PR back squat was 190 kilos. So for those of you that don't work in kilos, 190 is 418, 300 is 660. So watching that, my standard of strength changed slightly. You know, there were women in the gym that were squatting almost as much as me. You know, I was the weak man on the totem pole, but you change your perception of what strength is when you see 700 pounds on a squat. You know, you know, it's very mind-boggling to a degree, but awesome to see at the same time. But anyways, after I spent some time there, I moved back here to Muncie back in 2018. And I actually had a random run-in with the owner of the Arsenal, BJ McKay, at a local coffee shop. Him and I were looking to start our own thing and just start trying to grow business around here. Yeah, right here in the garage. So was where it was going to start. You know, had a run-in with BJ, and it started out that I was just going to coach Saturday Olympic weightlifting classes. So I brought Brandon along to help me. It was supposed to be a 1-month thing. We were going to reassess at the end of that, and I did end up doing it for 3 months, and he offered to bring me on as a CrossFit coach. Initially, I didn't have a CrossFit cert, but I've coached CrossFit and CrossFit gyms for over 5 years prior to, or some form of. And so he actually paid for me to get, you know, the Arsenal paid for me to get my CrossFit certification about 6 to 8 months in. And I started coaching more. The Arsenal was, before I started there, just CrossFit primarily, a little bit of personal training, but after I started coaching there regularly, we built up a youth sport performance program. We significantly increased our personal training revenue. You know, if you want to be a full-time coach in the industry, just so you know, you got to do personal training likely to some degree, hands-on. There's other ways around it, but it's you know, personal training is going to be the higher value ticket. So you know, but you can deliver higher service there. But anyways, and then also started individual design and strength team programming. So weightlifting, powerlifting, strongman, competitive CrossFit. So CrossFit class is different than someone really trying to be competitive. You know, and so kind of built out some new avenues. So we've branched out and actually become the Arsenal Fitness now. I became head coach after 2020. And COVID hit, when we were on the threat of lockdown, we actually went and did 31 Zoom classes a week. You're looking at the guys that ran pretty much all of them. I ran 26 or 27 a week, right here out of this garage, and he ran the rest of them. You know, and that the fact that we did that is a big part of what helped us keep, I think, about 70 to 75% of our membership at the Arsenal, which then allowed me to earn the title or earn the spot as head coach at the Arsenal. You know, and have split duties with the GM. So. And the owner as well, BJ. He's a full-time leadership consultant with a company named Advisa out of Carmel. So if you're familiar with that, he does a lot in the little bit it appears he does. He does a lot of behind-the-scenes things that people don't see. But he's been a big help and a big influence and great mentor for me in a lot of ways. But it's his birthday today too. Shout out, Ray. But anyways, you know, I've been head coach of the Arsenal since 2020, and that's kind of really the avenue I'm at and trying to grow there and trying to grow more as well. You know, like I said earlier, our vision is really everyone's an athlete, and that's a big part of, for me. You know, I saw Zygmunt Smalsrez, I'm probably botching his name a little bit, but he was a former Bulgarian world champion, but he was U.S. national coach. This was back, I want to say mid-20-teens, 2014, 2016 range. But I saw him, it was in his early 80s, do a beautiful like 50 kilo snatch on social media. And I'm like, I want to do that. If I can do that at that age, there's not a lot of things I'm not going to be able to do in my 80s, you know? And so that really helped just kind of reframe or set up that like athlete of life mentality. And so for us, like Brandon said, you know, there's not really, everyone needs to squat to some degree. What that looks like for each individual is different. Everyone needs to hinge or know how to pick something up off the ground. What that looks like for each individual is different. Everyone needs to press. Everyone needs to pull. Everyone needs to carry things to learn how to brace their spine. Everyone needs to be strong on one leg. Because when we walk or in sport, a lot of that happens on one leg. And so, you know, we really just want to create an outlet and avenue here for you guys to see, you know, there are a lot of similarities of overlapping, but also answer questions and differences that you guys, you know, come across. So if you guys do have anything you would like for us to share or talk about, please let us know. We'd be happy to talk more about that. You know, you may see some other things like us sprinkling in some training videos. I have a lot of content from my surgery that I had a little bit over a year ago and my rehab and recovery from that was honestly great. I knocked on wood now. You know, great. And so, but I just never really shared or put much of it out there. So I think that's some good content that I could share down the road at some point too. But I don't know if there's anything else you want to add.
Just kind of like I had said in the beginning, I mean, to just add to that, like we want to be able to be an outlet guys to learn anything that doesn't make sense to you in fitness. And even if it's something that maybe we don't know, like we can look it up
and find a resource.
Find a read, yeah, and make it make sense to you, because that's, like I said earlier, there's a lot of times where I'm talking to some of my students or athletes at the Arsenal, and I'll say something and they'll be like, man, that's crazy. Like, and to me, it's just like, how's that crazy? That's just common knowledge. But then I forget that I've been training for 20 years, and I tell my kids all the time at school, I've been training longer than you've been alive. So when I say stuff like that to my head is like, why don't you know that? I have to then look back and realize they probably don't know that. So making it as easy for you guys to understand as possible is my big goal of it. That way, it just gives you, like I said, a resource and outlet that makes you want to train, that you don't have to think about it as much, or you can realize, oh, well, I can do this, this, and this and get the same result as if I did this, this, and this. So I think that's my big thing, is just making training and fitness as easy to understand as possible.
Yeah, I agree. I think the exact same thing, and I think for us too, some entertainment. Find some entertainment. I think also too, for those of you that think Brandon doesn't speak, I think this is a good way for you to see he does, and he has some good things to say when he does. So
I'll get better at it.
Yeah, we're practicing.
There will be some point in time in a video that we do that I'll just be like, Eric, shut up. I have something to say. We're not there yet though.
But we will. So, but if you guys do have anything, like I said, please share it with us. And thanks for listening.
Yeah, thank you.